You're good?
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Select Board meeting. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone who's here tonight and people who are viewing. I know this is a long-awaited meeting. So we're back here tonight for one purpose. And before I go, we'll grant Westwood Media Center permission to record. Is there anybody else recording? Okay, so we're back here for one purpose tonight, and we're going to complete the town administrator search process. I want to start by thanking people who have been involved in this process with us from the consultants. John, thank you for being here with us tonight. Our staff, particularly Joan Murray and Patrick Ahern, for their assistance throughout. Members of the screening committee, and I really want to thank everybody who applied for this position. You might remember we've said there were 38 initial applicants, and then there were 2. So this was a very thoughtful and thorough process. It moved right along. I'd like to thank our consultants for helping us do that over the summer months. Not an easy thing to accomplish. Wish it was summer again, but it's not. And we're really happy with the candidates that were brought forth to us by the screening committee. So when we last met last week, this board agreed to postpone making our final decision until this evening. That allowed us, and in particular me, to have the opportunity to consider this further, and I also took advantage of the time to meet with the 2 remaining candidates once again. And through that, I assure you I've carefully considered many things, as I know my colleagues have. I've been looking at our options. I've looked at this from a long-term perspective and how it will impact our community. It's a big change when you've had somebody in one position leading the community for over 30 years. So I think there was a lot of expectation of us, of the community, to do this and do it right. And I think over the course of this evening we will conclude that successfully. So one thing I've been doing is exploring our options, and with my colleagues' permission, I'd like to put forth a recommendation, if that's okay with both of you. Mm-hmm. I actually recommend we go with a 2-step action. First, I recommend to the board that we offer the position of town administrator to Christopher Coleman, who currently serves as assistant town administrator in the town of Needham. And many of you saw him here a couple of weeks ago. He's a very talented man and has been working under the leadership of Kate Fitzpatrick in Needham, and they have a very successfully run town. But I have a second part to this 2-step action. I recommend that we elevate Pam Dukeman's responsibilities in her role as assistant town administrator and finance director, and that with that we pursue a new contract with her reflecting as such. So that's my recommendation. I would welcome comments, and then at some point, if there's concurrence, I have motions to move forward if we want to do so.
John?
Yeah, I would just say, I just want to echo some of the thanks, because a lot of people put a lot of time into this, especially you, Joan. And I would say that for me, I appreciate the recommendation. I think that it's important that we look back to where we started. And I think it was very important that the 3 of us were very much aligned in an aspiration of what we wanted in the next town administrator. And I thought that was really important that we went through that process, because it gets more complicated when you start talking about the who. When you can talk about what it is you want, it's a lot easier. And I thought that we came up with a really great aspiration, and having somebody with some experience in different systems and different roles I thought was important. And so in Chris, I think that's definitely the case. And I think this is a really exciting time for the town of Westwood. And I think Chris brings a lot of energy and passion and will do great things going forward. I agree with you on the PM piece, because I think what I learned, and I sensed from talking to staff that they agreed, was that just kind of structurally our setup was a little bit different, and maybe it had outgrown itself in that there was kind of one central point of authority, and the town has grown, the roles and responsibilities have grown. So I think it's a really thoughtful recommendation. I concur with your recommendation, and I'd be happy to support your motion.
Michael?
Okay, so I respectfully disagree. Last week when we had this meeting, I told you I'd made up my mind. I had made up my mind in full support of Pam. And I thought Pam had been with this town for a long time. I thought we had gone outside in several other departments. We've gone outside in the fire department, the police department. And people who give their support to this town and work hard every single day look for the opportunity to move up. And so I was disappointed to learn that, in some respects, Pam had said, you know what, maybe if I can't get the whole pot, I'll split the pot. But I talked to Pam. I said to her, Pam, if this is what you want and you're willing to support this, then I'm 100% behind. I think it's important going forward that the Board of Selectmen be 100% behind the recommendation for who the new person is. I can tell you this, if Pam was not in the mix, then Chris would have been my first vote. But Pam was in the mix, and so Pam was my first vote. And I'm not afraid to say this, and I'm stating this right now on television to the entire town, for the employees in this town. If you're up for the next position in town, as long as I sit on this board, you are highly recommended, and I'm going to probably consider you at the top of the list. And so, Pam, I understand that, as I said to Pam, I understand when you get to the top of the poll and there's two and there's a $100,000 pot, sometimes you say, I'm willing to split it 50-50. You get 50-50, I get 50-50, and you split it. And I think Pam recognized that. And so she said, I'm willing to stay on the board, I'm willing to do all the things for this town, and she's earned it. And so I highly respect Pam for saying that. I think Chris is a great candidate. And so with that, I'm fully willing to say that I will fully support Chris in his new role. And I thank Pam for taking that step back and saying, I will continue to stay with the town because she has earned it and she has stayed with our town, and I support every single employee in this town who continues to work for this town and hope that the opportunity arises for you too.
Thank you for that. I think we all have a lot of thoughts. You articulated yours quite nicely, and we are lucky to have the talent we have working for this town. And Pam has certainly been an asset and will continue to be, and I think that's part of what makes this, this opportunity here with these two people really extraordinary for the town. So, I have been given motions. Actually, they're in two, one
Yeah,
for
should
the
be
town
two.
administrator and one for pursuing.
So I move that we authorize the chair of the select board to offer the position of town administrator to Christopher Coleman, and to further authorize the chair of the select board and the director of human resources to develop and negotiate a new contract for employment with Mr. Coleman.
I guess as second as the clerk, I will second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Chris Coleman has our vote of support to become the next town administrator. And a second motion, please.
I further move that we authorize the chair of the select board and the director of human resources to develop and negotiate a contract with Pamela Dukeman for the position of assistant town administrator and finance director.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Is there any other business that we need to take care of regarding this?
Not that I'm aware of, Madam
Okay.
Chairman.
Any other business to come before the board tonight? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.